Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and this is actually a Gimme My Money Back edition of the Oakland Warriors podcast because that game against the Lakers, give me my money back. If I was at this game, if I was a Warriors fan, whether this game was at Staples or at Chase Center, I would have just been so irritated. This team just looked so flat and so uninspired, and this was not even anywhere close to an entertaining game. This whole season has been about progress and just being a basketball fan and seeing how this Warriors team glommed together from all these different parts and trying to figure each other out in this strange COVID season, how they are progressing and how they're improving even if there's a loss. This game just out the window. This might have been the most uninspiring game since the Phoenix Suns game in Phoenix after they had beaten the Timberwolves a couple times. They just laid a stinker. I think that's when Kelly Oubre had a really bad game, but that game was just meh. And this one was the same. You know, if we're looking for something that we quote unquote learned from this game, I guess it's that LA always wins. And I'm not talking about the Lakers or the Clippers or any of their other teams, just the city and all of its vices, I suppose. Even with COVID restrictions, I guess if you are an NBA player, there is always a way to get distracted, get into something else, and just show up and look flat for a game. That's just a guess. That's just conjecture, because even during the dynasty years, the Warriors would come to LA when the Lakers were trash and lay some stinkers. And this is no different. I mean, this is just really disappointing. From the outset, like, no one was playing well. No one seemed to be trying very hard. Kelly Oubre Jr. looked a little intimidated guarding LeBron James. Curry was off. And honestly, once Draymond Green tweaked his ankle, even if he was going to be okay, you knew at that point that he wasn't coming back, especially at halftime. Because if they were down 20-21, Draymond tweaked his ankle, you're not going to waste and risk the chance of him hurting his ankle even further on a game that they're probably not going to come back from. So that's why this whole thing felt mailed in. And I was texting my friend Aram in Toronto, and we were both watching the game, and he just quit. He's like, yo, I got to do some laundry. And that was it. So in terms of breakdowns or something that I got from this game, there's not much, except that the Warriors right now, they can beat the bad teams. They can beat the mediocre teams just like them, but they currently cannot rise up to the occasion to beat a good team. And like I said on the last podcast episode, the Warriors have their first 3-game win streak of the season. They're 4 games over 500 for the first time before this game, and they're running into kind of a buzzsaw of a schedule. This was actually a game that I thought they had a really good chance at. The Lakers had lost a bunch of games. They were reeling because Anthony Davis is out. And on paper, I was like, hey, the Lakers without Anthony Davis are not world beaters. The Warriors tonight made them look that way. Yes, the Lakers are the defending champs and they have chemistry and all that stuff. And the role players are probably more solid, but they weren't facing like the greatest team you've ever seen in your life. Again, this was a game that they could have had, that I thought they could have stolen. And with these other teams coming up, they need to grab a couple of them, or else they're going to find themselves below 500 pretty quickly. They play Portland, they play the Suns. Again, 2 teams that they could beat. Portland's hurt. Portland has pretty much the same record as the Warriors, more or less. The Suns, they're good. They have Chris Paul, Devin Booker. So if they don't even come with like their B- game, they have no chance. And after the All-Star break, after they've seen the Jazz, the Lakers, the Clippers, we'll see where they're at, you know? I'm guessing they'll steal a couple of wins, but still, they're just going to be right around 500 again, if that's the case. Hopefully it's not worse. I'm not even going to make an effort to talk individual players because the individual players didn't really make an effort to show up. So there's nothing new. This game's just a wash. Any analysis of this game in terms of individual players is, to me, kind of pointless because overall, the team just wasn't there. Uncertainty makes things exciting, I guess. So we shall see how this goes from here on out. On to the next one. Anyway, that's another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Patrick Epino, E-P-I-N-O, or at Oakland Warriors. Check us out at oaklandwarriors.com, and be sure to tell your fellow Warrior fan friends to tune in. The Oakland Warriors podcast is produced by National Film Society. That's it.
Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time, and go Dubs.